Hi, everyone, wherever you are tuning in from, thank you for joining us. I'm very excited to be part of this year's LTX Fest, bringing together the largest community of Latinx professionals in tech. Today, we have an amazing group of people that I have the honor of moderating a conversation with. We have AJ Huaranca, who's a product manager at Audible. We have Madelyn Tavarez, a software engineer at Pinterest. And we have Symmone Singleton, who's a software engineer at Code for America. They have all made an amazing impact in tech, in their communities and beyond. And I'm very excited to speak with them today about being a rising techie and the distance they have all traveled to be here where they are today. So there are many different pathways into tech. Not everybody saw themselves with a career in tech like myself. And hopefully today you'll hear just how unique, different, and sometimes unconventional our paths into tech can be, from being an engineer with a computer science degree to catapulting into tech from startup weekends or boot camps or apprenticeships. So whichever path you are in, whatever path and journey you are on right now, just know that there's room for us all. So just want to kick off the conversation. A little bit about me. My name is Castro. I'm a creative consultant, and I myself catapulted into tech through startup weekends, where I learned how to build a startup from scratch and immerse myself into various tech communities like Techqueria, one of the largest communities for Latinx in tech, and I currently support the New York City chapter. And I also am a community tech officer at the Boys and Girls Club in New Jersey, where I'm preparing the next generation of rising techies. So to dive right into it, I'm gonna let our amazing panelists introduce themselves, and then hopefully, you take away some gems from their journeys, from what it took for them to sort of get to where they're at today. And I'm very excited, and I'll let someone chime in.
I can go first. Hi, my name is Symmone Singleton. I'm a software engineer at Code for America. I've been there for about 2 years. And prior to being a software engineer, I was a historian, and I studied social justice movements and civil rights in the United States. Yeah, and maybe someone else can introduce themselves.
Cool. I'm AJ Huaranca. I'm product manager for 5 weeks at Audible. Prior to Audible, I was in product at a small startup called Work Market. We exited to ADP, which was fantastic, but ultimately wanted to find out what was next for me. And so therefore I took some time, really diligent, leaned on my network of people, friends, people like Carolina, her significant other, fantastic human being over at Techqueria, and found what I was looking for in Audible, all right? So for me, that was fantastic. So I love to share my knowledge and share my growth patterns and share anything that I can and try to demystify technology whenever I can. And, for me, it's just empowering Latinx people to be part of the tech space. And that's it for me.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Madelyn. I work at Pinterest as a software engineer on Android on the shopping product team. I've been at Pinterest for about 4 years, and I went into Pinterest through the apprenticeship program that they had. I was part of the first class, and now back then it was a class of 3, but now we're actually recruiting for a current cohort, which is going to be about 15 new hires. So I'm really excited about that. We'll be interviewing people next week. Before that, I was doing a lot of other things. I worked in marketing. I worked at JP Morgan as an intern. I was an economics major, so like Carolina, did not know anything about tech before I actually got into tech. And yeah, it's been such an awesome journey. At Pinterest, I was the only Latina engineer for a long time, and so I helped co-found our Latino ERG at Pinterest, and we've since grown a lot, and now we have over 150 members, which is awesome. We're working on increasing that every day, but yeah, that's me.
That's really exciting. All really good things from all of you. So now that you sort of shared a little bit about what you do you have a personal mission statement? I'll share mine if it helps. So my personal mission statement is I'm striving for a tech industry that's super hyper inclusive and committed to systemic change, from changing our recruiting practices to giving our people a seat at the table for more opportunities, fair wages. And I'm really excited about seeing more of us in tech, because I feel like that will lead to equitable products and equitable teams. And there's so much more I could say about myself, but I'm really curious to hear about your mission statements. I know, AJ, you said something about sort of wanting to demystify tech. I don't know if maybe you'd want to expand on that a little bit, and then we could go from there.
Well, yeah, I think part of it is that there's a weird understanding that maybe tech is for people of a different type of background. Look, I come from an artist background. I have a BFA. And so I took a weird end around way to get there. But because of that, because I have this particular knowledge space in my head, thinking about art and deconstructing things, my mission statement typically is, try to demystify as much as I can, but it really boils down to falling in love with the problem and never falling in love with the solution. So therefore, when it comes to bringing more people like ourselves into tech, that's a problem that I want to solve, but I always want to find new ways, deconstruct it, break it again, and find more people to get more people in, because it worked great for me the way I got in, but it may not be the same for everyone else, and it's always different. So always looking out for those things.
Absolutely. Does anyone else want to chime in?
I think for me, I don't think of myself as like having a mission statement, but a lot of what drives me is just creating pathways for people, inclusivity, making people feel like they belong in tech or in whatever other thing they're interested in. So last year I founded my organization, which is, oh my God, why am I spacing right now? Scholar Ahead. So it's a platform online where students in grades K through 12 can go to find opportunities like summer enrichment programs, internships, fellowships, just things that they wouldn't know about unless they were part of the right networks, and they can easily search and filter by exactly their specific needs and who they are. And creating this platform was really important to me because I feel like a lot of people are left out of opportunities, not because they're not qualified, but because they don't know about them. And then when they do know about them, sometimes they think it's not for them. And so I created this platform to help people find opportunities and also feel empowered to apply for them. And that's kind of what has driven me for a long time. Ever since I joined tech, I started getting really active in local organizations, trying to get more Latinos especially to know about tech roles and kind of break into companies like Pinterest. And then I also am an ambassador for Tecnologicas, where we go around the country and host coding workshops for young girls and their parents to just introduce them and let them know about the opportunities, and just to expose them to other Latinas who are also in tech and STEM roles at NASA and Pinterest and Google and companies like Audible and Code for America. There's so much that you can do, but unless you're part of this community or this circle, you don't really know that there's a space for you. So I would say my mission statement is kind of around creating awareness and opening doors for opportunities.
Both of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Similarly, I don't have a mission statement, but there are a few things that I'm motivated by, in sort of in dual directions. So there's what both of y'all were talking about, which is getting a seat at the table, a foot in the door, and entering the tech world. And for me, that means finding and creating opportunities for Black and Brown people across the board, making sure that there isn't just a room at a table, but actually our own spaces that we feel welcome and empowered in. And then beyond that, there's also motivation behind the technical work that I choose to do, and actively choosing to do work that I feel benefits communities that I care about. So I currently work on criminal record clearance, and a lot of my work is in figuring out how we can build government services that are for the people, by the people in the digital age, and motivated by making sure that people have equitable access to things like record clearance or CalFresh, which is food stamps, anything like that. So I'm motivated both by getting Black and Brown people into technical roles, and also ensuring that those the solutions that come out of those technical roles benefit Black and Brown communities.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, this is why we need more Latinx, more POC folks in tech, so that we could build out the tools that our communities are already using, are contributing to it from algorithmic perspective, from any perspective, really. And I definitely want to highlight, Maddie, what you said about it's not necessarily that our folks are getting left out of opportunities because we're not qualified. The issue seems to be, at least that I've found, that it's hard to find out about these opportunities. And I'm really thankful for platforms like this as well, where we could all network and get to know each other, find out about, Scholar Ahead. I think that's a fantastic program for youth in tech as well to, to get connected to, expose us to different opportunities. And it's really exciting to hear all your backgrounds. I'm excited to get to know you all more and have the audience learn more from you as well. So I guess we could sort of dive into, your transition into tech. I know, AJ, you said you have like this, I'm not going to pick on you, but I think it's really interesting that you have a BFA and are you still an active painter? And how was that experience been like? And what was it like transitioning into tech?
Well, still an active painter, yes. If not, I would go crazy. But what transitioning into tech, and I just had I started from the ground up. I started answering phone calls in the first job that I had. And then from there, people assumed that maybe I wasn't tech enough or had enough knowledge to continue on. And I took that as a personal challenge and affront, really, but proved everyone wrong to the point that I knew where all the bodies were buried inside our tech stack. From that point on, they put me in engineering. From there, they said, this kid could do product. But throughout that time, I kept using my own, I guess, the training that I had as an artist by deconstructing things and looking at things differently than what anyone else would be doing, and asking questions again and again and again and again until people got sick of me. Because ultimately, it's you want to be able to create something, but create something for the people that want to use it and why they want to use it. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, definitely. Fall in love, like you said in the beginning, fall in love with the problems, not so much with the solutions, and also feel comfortable to continue asking questions. It's always good to ask questions, especially as you're growing your journey. I don't know, Symmone, Maddie, if you want to sort of talk about your current experience and how you sort of transition into where you're at now. Oh, Symmone, I think you're muted.
Got it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd be happy to. So for me, I studied history in school and had never seen a line of code in my life and had very little imagining or interest in tech. It just wasn't something that was at all on my radar. And after I graduated, was going to work at some startup in a customer facing role in New York, and then found out that they had offered my male counterparts several $1,000s more than me for the same job. Which obviously is very common and also very awful. And so went to renegotiate, but nothing came from it. So I was sort of out of a job, trying to figure out what I was going to do next, and found a coding boot camp that was starting. And they were trying to recruit people. And I was well, that's a hard skill. I don't know how to do it. Seems like something that would be useful to know. So 2 weeks later, I moved to San Francisco. Spent 6 months in that coding boot camp, and then started an apprenticeship similar to you, Maddie. Also the first cohort of apprentices at Code for America. Started that apprenticeship as an engineer apprentice. And then now I've been working there for about 2.5 years, specifically on criminal justice reform. And it ended up just being a sort of interesting intersection where what I was studying was mass incarceration and the prison industrial complex, and then just found a very rare tech job that also happened to be in the intersection of technology and criminal justice reform. So the stars aligned on that one.
Also, I love that you work on Clear My Record. I have a good friend, Jasmine, who also worked on that.
Yes, I know Jasmine. She's great.
Yeah, it's really important work, and work that not a lot of people are doing, and that is really hard to figure out how to do that for yourself, like clear your own record. So I really admire the work that you all are doing over at Code for America.
I appreciate that. Small world.
Yeah, so my journey into tech. So I was an economics major. I had no idea what coding was, what programming was, what software engineering was. We had an engineering school at my university, but I just never thought that that could be something that I would be interested or want to pursue. I think mainly because I never saw any women in that school. I also didn't see any people of color graduating from that school. And so for me, it was just like something other people do. And it wasn't actually until I went abroad because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I chose economics as my major because it kind of gave me the most options in terms of what I could do next. So I wasn't like in a box or anything. And then I did a few internships and I was like, all right, I don't want to do any of this. So I'm going to go abroad and like buy myself some time. And then when I get back, hopefully I know what I want to do. And when I went to Turkey, I met two women who were software engineers. And that was the first time that I had ever met women who were studying software engineering or were software engineer or anywhere in tech. And that was kind of like the first thing that made me think, oh, women do this too. I wonder what that is. Around the same time, there were a lot of ads everywhere for Code Academy, for Learn How to Code. And I felt like I was just seeing all these signs that I should try this thing. And once I actually did like sign on to Code Academy and I think I did like their HTML and CSS course, that's when I realized that that was the same thing that we all, and I don't know how old you all are, but it's the same exact thing that we all used to do on MySpace. And I was like, you know, as a teenager, I spent so much time like customizing my MySpace profile. It was so much fun. And after MySpace kind of went down and Facebook took over, I even looked on Facebook to see if I could customize my Facebook, and I couldn't. And I kind of like forgot about it. It was like, oh, that was a thing we did on MySpace, but I didn't know that people were actually like making a career out of this and like building other things with those same skills. And so I started just taking classes online just because I was interested. And then I got back to the US and decided to actually pursue that. So I looked for coding boot camps, I looked for training schools, I looked at degree programs, and then finally I ended up getting into a coding school in New York. In Queens, it was called Coalition for Queens, and now it's called Pursuit. I just dove headfirst into doing that nights and weekends. I was still working in public relations and marketing in New York while I was doing that, and then I was studying nights and weekends. It was really tough, but I couldn't afford to not have a job. So there were times where I would just go to sleep at like 3 a.m. because I had something to do the next day, and then I had to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to work. And one time I even missed work, which is kind of insane. They were like calling me at 10 a.m. and I was like, I'm sorry, I think I have to quit my job because I can't like keep up with these schedules. But now I know so many amazing people who have also made that transition by doing a coding program part-time. Obviously, it was longer for me. A lot of coding programs are 3 to 6 months. My program was 10 months. But after my program, I got an apprenticeship in Boston for 3 months. And I did that. It was at Intrepid Pursuits. I recommend that program for anyone who might be interested. They train you. They really invest in you. I got a full-time offer from them, but around that same time, I also got an offer from my dream company, which is Pinterest. And I couldn't give that up. So I moved to San Francisco and accepted the apprenticeship, and I've been here ever since.
Very cool. Well, yay for getting your dream job. And I definitely want to say that I could resonate with the whole MySpace thing. I spent way too much time making my MySpace profile look pretty. I wish if I had someone maybe around me that was an engineer, so maybe they could have been like, hey, you know, you can make some money from that. So knowledge is power, obviously, right? The more you know, the more you sort of get exposed to different things, the more you are tapped into a network of folks like us just saying, hey, you know, MySpace could actually, building up your MySpace profile could actually lead to a lucrative career in tech. And definitely, I think that must have been really cool, like also meeting, you know, women in tech abroad. I have a similar background where I studied, my background's mostly in politics and nonprofits, and I just met a lot of people in tech abroad, and I thought that was really cool, and that sort of piqued my interest in that space. So I know Symmone and Maddie, you mentioned a couple of programs. Programs that you've been a part of, or maybe if you want to recommend a few other, apprenticeships or boot camps that maybe people could check out. And then AJ too, if you have any programs as well. Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to say that a lot of the people that I've met since then, like a lot of women in tech or people of color in tech, actually did get into coding through MySpace. And then after MySpace shut down, they found another platform to continue to build on. And that's kind of like what led them to continue to end up being software engineers. So yeah, like having visibility to what tools are available out there, I think maybe would have changed a lot of our life trajectories back then. And we probably would have gotten into tech sooner because we had the skills, we had the passion. So yeah, I think like knowing what's available, what's out there, and what the next step is really important. And in terms of like programs that I would recommend, I'm not sure outside of the ones that I've done, like what I can recommend, but for sure Pursuit in New York City. They're a small program, but we still recruit a lot from that program at Pinterest, and they do at Spotify as well and at LinkedIn. So their like conversion rates of like people who actually get jobs are really high. And then there are so many apprenticeship programs now, like Airbnb has one, Lyft has one, LinkedIn, Twilio, like Pinterest, Facebook is currently working on one. And there are just all these amazing programs. And if you don't know that they exist, you think it's really, really hard to break in. And it's not as difficult as you imagine when you're first trying to get your foot in the door. There are actually so many ways to get in now. People are more willing to give you the benefit of the doubt and kind of train you up just because they want your perspective, because you're different, because you come from a different background, because you have a different perspective, you have a lot of value to add. And so companies are willing to invest in you a little bit more.
Yeah, I can definitely second that. I don't have a specific apprenticeship to recommend. I wouldn't necessarily, not apprenticeship, boot camp to recommend. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the one that I did, but there are tons of online resources that are a great place to start if you're like maybe in the audience and you've been thinking, oh, like maybe this is something I want to transition into. There are tons and tons of resources online to just like dip your foot in the pool. There's one called Free Code Camp. I think there's another one called Code Academy. There's also tons of classes on Coursera, like tons, especially right now, sort of like as everything is moving to online, like a bunch of programs are opening up their online courses and lowering the prices. So that's like a great place to start if you're not sure if you're ready for like a full, 3-6 month commitment. And yeah, similarly, like the apprenticeship are really a really great ways to like make tech accessible to people who are from non-traditional backgrounds. And I think that there's this, I'll speak from my own experience. Like it was my experience that I felt a lot of sort of imposter syndrome when I was first starting. I was like, well, I'm not like a real engineer. Like it took me like a year and a half of having the title of software engineer before I like actually called myself that. And it's because we have this very like specific understanding of like what a technical person looks like or what an engineer looks like, not just like optically, but the way that they think or the things that they like. And similar to like what you're saying, Maddie, the fact that we have different experiences, backgrounds, perspectives, identities, make us really beneficial for any team that we're on. And so I would like advocate and for you to like stand firmly in those identities and in those skill sets, and know that like that isn't something that is a check mark against you, but instead like something super beneficial and a strength that we all can bring to the table.
That's amazing.
I also wanted to add one to Symmone's list of recommendations. Treehouse is also really awesome, and you can get a free membership to Treehouse through most public libraries. So the New York Public Library will give you a free membership, and so will the SF Public Library. I know some of the other ones you mentioned are also free, but I also want to throw in Treehouse in there because I actually love their content.
That's awesome. Did you want to add anything, AJ?
Cool. Well, I definitely want to second Coursera. That is a fantastic program. you can find the different things. But I'm coming at it, I guess, from a product manager's point of view. There's a lot of things online that you can find, especially YouTube. There's a ton of YouTubes that help you break down a problem, that help you do a product casing. You don't need to necessarily take courses to do that. There's people that have done it, and so you can understand it that way. Now, I can't recommend all the courses that I went to. Like Symmone, some of them were just crap, just wasted a lot of money on it. But what you want to do is lean in on your network of friends, especially if you have friends that are in product. For me, that's what I leaned in, and they would give me pointers, or I would do product casings with them, because it's easier to talk to somebody that knows you for them to give you a bit of a pointer. The other things, like maybe I know that I have a lot of friends that were front-end engineers, and so Flatiron, from my former employer, we had a lot of people from Flatiron that come in. So kudos to that. But also want to touch on the fact that, and I think everyone is sort of mentioning this, there's a bit of imposter syndrome, especially for me when I was starting out, feeling that I didn't belong in that room, especially understanding and knowing the stuff that I do, but yet still have that feeling that since I'm a homegrown product manager, I didn't come from the outside, or I just took some courses online or took something from the product school, and therefore I can call myself a product manager, which is absolute bull. Once you understand it, once you know it, you are it. You have to believe it each and every single time you go in there. The minute you start negating yourself is the minute other people win, and you don't want that, right? So just believe in yourself, and you'll get to that point. But from the PM side of things, you can find vast arrays of knowledge on the web, or join Slack, like Techqueria. There's a Slack channel for product in there, and you can ping people, and you can run through ideas in there as well. So I don't know if anyone else has other Slack channels that they want to post out there, other than there's so many. Yeah.
That was great, AJ. Yeah, definitely, it's good to sort of question yourself, but don't doubt yourself. Like, lean into like your own magic, your own ability, your own understanding and experience of the space that you're in. I think that's very important. And also the programs that you've all sort of mentioned, or just, the panel itself, Rising Techies in the Distance Traveled. People should feel free to also like reach out to us, reach out to the network, and just ask about different programs. We've done a lot of the work to sort of vet different classes and programs and opportunities, and just leverage your network, reach out to people, be respectful, be kind, and ask for input into your own journey, because the journey is long and we are just getting started, because we need to get into tech and change things. So we are here. So thank you. Yeah, there's a lot that we could sort of continue, diving deeper. And I kind of want to know, like, what does being Latinx in tech mean to you, or Afro-Latinx in tech, or a human in tech?
Well, I can sort of take it. I think there's a lot of ills that Latin flesh is heir to, right? And like you said before, there's a lot of, especially when you feel that you don't belong in that room, especially when you don't see other people like yourself in that room, or even outside the room, or even downstairs, or even in the elevator, or in the front door. It's like the only place you see yourself is when you go to lunch and you see people behind the counter or people serving. You have to get past that and get over yourself on that. But what I'm able to bring a different train of thought and a different mindset, especially coming from a father who worked in two factory jobs to put myself and my sister through school, plus my mom who would make tamales on the side and then do sewing and then clean people's houses, who are probably the people that are employing me. Coming from that point of view and seeing their hustle and eat it and live it and every day and try to make a life for themselves and for myself and my sister, I have that unique perspective of wanting to get something done and work my ass off to get it done. So therefore, as a Latin person, we bring that. Hope that's not too much.
Yes, the hustle is in our blood.
The hustle's real.
The hustle's real.
I completely agree with that. And, you know, I was thinking about recently, what you said actually resonates with me about imposter syndrome, because I've been in tech now for 4 years. And I think like most people didn't see like my really tough stage at Pinterest. Like when I first got there, you know, I was the only one of 3 people from a non-traditional background out of like 500 engineers. I was the only Latina. I was the only person who didn't go to an Ivy League school, although I did have a college degree. And then I also just didn't have a degree, an engineering degree. And so like every day I felt completely out of place. I felt like I wasn't gonna make it, like I didn't belong there. Like it was going to take me a really long time to catch up to everyone else who had a 4-year degree and 2 years of internship experience at Google and Facebook. And you know, I really thought like there were so many days where I was just like, I don't belong here. This place is not for me. And it was really hard. And I had an amazing mentor who has, I think, over 17 years of experience now. And she just asked me to stop comparing myself to everyone. She's like, you know, you have to give time. You're going to get that experience, but the only way to get that experience is through like living that experience. Mm-hmm. And you're here for a reason. Like we chose you to be here for a reason. We believe in you and you have what it takes. You just have to also believe you have what it takes, and you need to go through the experiences that will give you the experience that you need to know like what the right decisions are. But you have like all the tools that you need. Mm-hmm. And I think like even recently I was talking to her about something and she's like, you know, I think you're a great engineer. And like, I was having a moment where I was doubting myself a few weeks ago. I was just like, do I still want to do this? Like, am I like keeping up? And when she said that, like, I hadn't even brought up my concerns to her, but it's always so great to have someone there reminding you, like, you can do this. Mm-hmm. And don't look at what this person is doing or what the other person is doing. Just focus on your own growth and like where you're heading and your trajectory. And know that you're capable of amazing things. And when we think about our ancestors and where they came from, our parents and where they came from, and how far they traveled for us to just end up where we are today, and then how far we've traveled from where we came from, it's like, yeah, there's so much we can do. It's easy to forget, looking back, how far you've come and how far you can go. And one thing I like to remember is like, there's a saying that says, God didn't bring me here just to leave me here. Like there's so much more. And you just have to believe in yourself, have faith, and just work really hard, as we all have, because if we didn't work hard, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Both of y'all statements really resonated with me too. For me, like, being a Latina in tech it's about a lot, and it's also like a very universal experience in some ways, where I think a lot of it is rooted in like being your own biggest fan. Like we are already like inherently in a position where we are the only Latinx people in the room, or like already sort of rare in the space, and things are already like structurally built to be more difficult for us. And so I think it's important, and I have to remind myself this often, to like be my own biggest fan, and like to think big and dream big for myself, and to take risks and like see where that takes me. And yeah, that similar to what you were saying, Maddie and AJ, like that self-doubt can sort of creep in over time, especially as you play the comparison game, and like, you know, comparison is a thief of joy. And like I said earlier, I think recentering that is like, oh, I'm different. And because I'm different, like, look at all the things I'm capable of. Like, because of where I came from, look at all the information and perspectives that you never would have had if I was here. And another like saying that I like is, don't put a question mark where God put a period, which is like, going home.
You're dropping some gems.
Yeah. But it's the same thing of like, well, let me not ask questions. Like, I'm here, this is where I am. And like, regardless of, I want to reflect on how I got here, but I don't want to question why I'm here. And so for me, it's like reminding myself that frequently. And then like, once I'm here, like, how do I build things that support the people that I care about? You know, like I work in sort of with the government, right? So how do I make sure that I'm building tools that, that serve Black people, that serve Latino people with dignity? Like, how do I build things that are easy to use, that are like accessible in Spanish, like all those sorts of things that like we can think about and are beneficial to the product and to the company, but more importantly, like beneficial to the people that we care about, to the communities that we're a part of. And so for me, it's all of that. And it's also just like, I think often about how excited like my 10-year-old self would be to see me and to see y'all in this room and to think like,
Yes.
gosh, this is possible. Like all of the kids who are seeing us trailblaze in this way is motivating and is exciting, and it makes me proud to like be in this room right now. And I hope we all remember that we are making lots and lots of people very proud just by being here.
Well, you all make me super hopeful for the direction, like just the future of tech, especially having more Latinos in tech. I think having more of us think of technology in this way as being more inclusive, accessible. There's just so many factors, and having more of these conversations is just really empowering. So I guess going back to communities and just, you know, spaces that sort of supported our journeys. Are there any communities that have helped you along the way that you could share with the audience in case, you know, people are looking to sort of figure out like how to just get into tech, but maybe are sort of shy? Maybe there's some communities that they might feel more comfortable in joining. If you could share anything around that.
Oh, I can say Techqueria is a big one,
Yes.
right? For those of you that don't know, it's an amazing, huge group. There's a lot of people that are willing to help you out in there. Just ask. That's all you have to do is ask. There's obviously various amounts of Slack channels you can go into and pretty much figure that stuff out on your own. But I think looking past communities, you need to start building your own. You have to think of it that way, because a lot of people join a lot of those groups and then expect something. That's where you have to stop. Don't expect anything when you join. Do something when you join those groups. So therefore you can create something. There's this quote from Nipsey Hussle about, if you look at the people in your circle and you don't get inspired, then you don't have a circle, you have a cage. So make sure that you're bringing people in that have your back. It's your crew. You're building your own crew. Think of it that way. And then you have their back, but it's also reciprocal at the same time. If you're not inspiring your friends to level up, then what the hell are you doing? You can't expect them to help you if you're not helping them. So think of it that way. So create your own group, create your own Slack channel, you know, create your own thing, go into Techqueria, create your own side of things. So, you know, we're all creators here. So therefore we should be able to do something like that. And I'm hoping that all of you be part of my circle as well, now that I've met expanding networks. So therefore, you know, do something like that. And the one thing I did while I was searching for a job is I researched some people, creeped on them on LinkedIn, and found somebody that was sort of new, relevant, that just wasn't, I was a new PM, sort of same level like me, and then asked how they got there. And simply reached out. I didn't ask them for a referral. I didn't ask them for anything. I just said, hey, I love your profile. I love that you're doing these different things. How did you get there? And if you don't mind, you have a minute for a 15-minute virtual chat and we'll just meet. And some people respond, some people didn't, but it doesn't hurt to ask, especially during COVID. So we're all, what else you got to do?
Yeah, I feel that a lot of what you say, AJ. Like, I think definitely like there are tons of communities already established and like showing they're built for this reason. And so like you can literally do a Google search like in your area and see what people are doing. Like Techqueria is a good one. Code for America, we have our own sort of Slack channel, but furthermore, there's we have these things called brigades, and they are like local groups all across the country. There are 90 of them. So like Code for LA or whatever, Open Oakland. And they are communities of volunteers that get together and like build technical projects for their local communities. It's a really, really cool thing. And it's like intended for people who like maybe don't have tons of experience to like start getting actual technical experience, like in a code base with the product manager, ways to like actually start working on stuff, and things that you can like have on your resume, people who can write you letters of recommendation. So I would highly recommend that. And also, yeah, big fan of just like the cold LinkedIn email, like message. Like maybe you send 10 of them and you only get 3 responses, but like, okay, that's 3 responses that you didn't have before. That's how I got a lot of like interviews or like speaking opportunities or like mentorship, was just like, hey, like I saw you wrote this article. Tons of like companies publish articles about technical work that they're doing, right? So, hey, I saw you wrote this article. I thought this part was really cool. Like I'm looking to like make my way into tech. Like what are your top 2 recommendations? Or like what language do you think would be interesting to learn? Or like ask like specific questions, and also have something to offer, you know, like see if they are looking for interns, or if they're looking for people to help with research or whatever. But understanding that like when you're looking for community, that not only should you have something to offer, but you do inherently have something to offer. And it's just standing firmly in that, understanding that, and then like marketing that and being like, these are all the skill sets that I have, I want to learn, and I think I can benefit you.
Absolutely.
I want to +1 the when you email someone or LinkedIn message someone, like being really specific with your ask, because I think a lot of people will write to someone like, hey, I'd love to learn more about your journey, but like that's super broad and kind of puts the pressure on the person who's like potentially might mentor you, and isn't really that helpful when you're trying to figure out like, should I meet with this person or not? I think what Symmone said about asking a very specific question, like, hey, I'm trying to do this. What advice do you have? What are your top 2 pieces of advice? Or I would really love to work at your company. Like, what is that interview process like? What are the things that I should focus my search on, or my prep on? I think those things are really important, because if you give me something specific, then I can either guide you to some resources, or I can be like, oh, we should actually hop on the phone and talk about this. And then I think some communities that are really awesome to be a part of are, of course, Techqueria, Women Who Code. When I first started, I just like went on meetup.com and looked up like coding and then found like beginner coding groups in my area, and then just signed up for a bunch of them, and I would go to the meetups and like meet other people who were literally just trying to dip their toes into coding at the same time as I was. And for me, that was super valuable, because I didn't know anybody else in my circle or anywhere in my life who was just learning how to code, or who even knew how to code. So having that peer group of people who like were learning with me and who were committed to actually pursuing a career in engineering was super valuable. And also it's really hard to learn on your own, because sometimes you get stuck and the answer is just looking at the problem from a different perspective. And meeting up with someone who's working on the same problem or something similar can kind of give you that perspective and unblock you. And so I think because of that, those communities are really important. And when COVID is over, I love when people like reach out to me and are like, hey, do you want to get coffee? I'll come to you. We'll meet for 30 minutes. And this is what we're going to talk about. Because otherwise, and when I reach out to people too, I'm like, hey, like, you're super impressive. I want to be like you. These are the things I want to talk to you about, and I'll come meet you wherever is convenient for you. And that makes it really hard to say no. So being like really specific, and also like taking all the like hurdles out of the way and obstacles, so that it's really easy for them to meet with you and to feel like it's going to be a really valuable use of their time and your time.
Oh, that's really great advice. So being super intentional, strategic, and specific with your ask, and as always, be kind and respectful. So I guess related to that, where could people reach out to you all? Or follow you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super easy to find on like Twitter. People can also, people easily find my email, but I also wanted to mention there's a group called Career Karma. And they're a community for people who are just getting into tech. And basically it's people from all over the world. I didn't do this, but my friend kind of started the company, and I think it's really awesome that you can just be placed in a pod of people who are learning with you and are at the same stage as you, and kind of progress with them. And then they have connections to apprenticeships and different job opportunities for people from non-traditional tech backgrounds. So that's a really awesome community to be a part of. But yeah, on Twitter, I think I'm Maddie TV, so super easy to find.
Yeah, for me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn under my name, Symmone Singleton. I'm the only one. Or you can also email me at Code for America. My Code for America email is Symmone@codeforamerica.org. It's also online. You could find that there. That's like a secret, is like lots of people's emails are online, like on their company websites, or you can guess them. I'm not going to give you more information about that, but yeah.
Easiest way to find me, I guess, is LinkedIn. It's AJ Huaranca. Really can't find anyone else other than AJ Huaranca with AJ Huaranca. So you can also probably find me in Techqueria. Just look up AJ, H should be there. A lot of people find me through that one. And second, on the people found my email address somehow on online, because I guess I give it away too much. So it's out there, you can probably find that. And then since I'm the only Huaranca at Audible, it's Huaranca@audible.com if you really want to email me there, but there's a ton of filters, so probably won't get to me. It'll come in external. But like I said before, like I second and third, if you have an intentional ask and you state it really clearly, yeah, I'll probably read it.
Yeah, leave it up to people in tech to be able to easily find each other's emails. So, and you could feel free to find me on LinkedIn, Carolina Castro, and I'm also just a DM away in Techqueria's Slack. So I guess before we wrap up, do you all anyone wants to share any closing thoughts, maybe a piece of advice for our audience?
I have a piece of advice, which is like you're capable of it. Regardless of who you are, like you are capable of entering the tech space and of providing value. And I hope that you tap into some of the resources that we've talked about today. But if you have any takeaways, it's that you're capable, it's possible, and it's a real question of like, is it what you want to do? If it's what you want to do, it's there. The resources are there, and there's lots of people who want to help you accomplish it.
Yeah, I want to second that for sure. Like, it's possible. You doubting yourself or having a bad day or not getting it right away is completely normal if you're trying to learn how to code, if you're trying to learn how to do anything new. Like, I'm sure everyone on this call went through periods of doubt. At first, it feels like a really hard uphill climb, and it's just, you have to adapt to this new way of thinking. But trust that if you really want to do it and you stick with it, there's going to be a day, maybe 3 months in, maybe 6 months in, where it starts to make sense and you start to feel like you're making real progress and like this is something that you can actually do. So just because it's hard in the beginning, don't think it's not for you. It is for you if you really want it. Just know that there is that uphill climb that you'll just have to make it through.
Definitely big likes all over those. Look, tech is hiring for a lot of minorities right now. It's, to be honest with that. And unfortunately, it's because of the social unrest in this country. So therefore, take advantage of the fact that they're finally reaching out to us now. So what should you be doing? Redoing your LinkedIn, adding more things. And if you haven't had anything tech related or something in current, then create your own. create your own podcast, create your own whatever, create your own story. You don't have to be categorized from your last job. Create your own job, create your own story that way, and you'll be noticed. Believe me, you will be noticed. And then the thing I also want to leave on, I think, is because my dad used to say this to me, because I was horrible at mathematics and tabla, so he would always just yell at me this one quote, but it's ponte las pilas.
Yes.
For those of you that don't understand, hope you do, is just, you know, you light a fire under your ass and do something. So if you're not being motivated to get out there and try to meet people or talk to people about what your next steps are going to be, then you're never going to get there. It's just never going to happen. It's not magically going to show up. No recruiter's going to reach out to you. So you have to take the onus on yourself, especially now. More important than anything else for you to start doing it now.
Mm-hmm. That was great. I was wondering how you were going to translate ponte las pilas. It's like, add your batteries on. I'm not sure. There's so many amazing, you know, quotes and like pieces of inspiration that I feel that our families have passed down to us over the years. And one of my biggest struggles is trying to translate them in my head. So this was such a great conversation. It was really a pleasure to sit down with you all from our own homes, from our office. And I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. And I hope everyone back at home, wherever everyone's tuning in, takes advantage, you know, like AJ was saying, like everyone was saying, I think, is seize this moment, leverage this opportunity, and network and build, you know, get involved in community, build community, or start your own community. And hopefully we could all be a part of that. So enjoy the rest of the LTX Fest and make the most of it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.